Most people set goals, but very few people achieve their goals. The difference isn't motivation. It's having a process that keeps you committed, that keeps you on track when things get hard and keeps you focused. In this video, I am going to walk you through the entire goal setting process. We are going to cover all facets from being committed to discipline, to having a detailed plan. And I'm going to share with you proven techniques that I have used for years and other successful people have used. In this video, I want to teach you the framework for setting and achieving goals and really seeing them come to fruition. As I said, a lot of people set goals, but they don't achieve them because it does take commitment, it does take discipline, and it is a process. So I am going to actually walk you through the process step by step. When you learn a process, you can apply it to a 1-year goal, 3-year goal, 5-year goal, and you can apply it to your personal and professional goals. So this is my little map of goal setting. Yes, these are all the steps I'm going to walk you through, but quickly, okay? And then on the other side, those are things related to when we're setting our goals. Like I said, commitment. How do we overcome obstacles and barriers? Do you give up and go home, or do you keep persevering? I love, love, love this. And I have to tell you that I learned this probably about 30 years ago, and I was an adult, into my adult years, but I really saw a difference when I learned it and I started applying it, and it works. So I'd like you to think about yourself too as I go through the process, and maybe even if you do have a goal on your mind, you can jot notes as you're watching this video. When I'm in a live class with this, teaching this, the participants actually, we stop at every step and they work on that. So by the time we leave the class, they're done, they're ready to go. All right, so first of all, it actually starts with believing in yourself. And it also has to do with your values. So when it comes to values, so when you're getting ready to set your goals, you need to think about your values. So some values are integrity. You value sense of accomplishment, challenging work. Maybe you value family. You value financial stability. You know, sometimes you give up some financial stability when you're going to do something. Like when I started my company, I wasn't exactly financially stable, okay? In fact, I was married with 2 little kids. And so that was something I was willing to sacrifice temporarily, knowing I would have that later in my life. But the belief in yourself. So a couple things we talk about in here is how strong is your belief system? Like you set that goal, and do you really, really believe that you can accomplish it? Or are you kind of like, well, that would be nice, and yeah, I think I can get there, versus, yes, I really believe I can do this. Because your belief system has to be rock solid. Couple other pieces with this though. Do you think people can achieve anything they set their minds to if they believe they can? Well, when I'm in a group with people or an audience, they'll say, no, I don't think, everybody can achieve this or you can achieve that. But the piece I want you to look at is really if you believe. And you may have to adjust your situation. In other words, if let's say I want to have a high level position and you're in a company and you're saying to yourself, well, I'll never get that position because that person's never leaving. The truth is you may have to leave that company to attain that type of a position. We moved around my husband's career 8 times. We were willing to make a physical move for him to position himself the way he wanted to. So do you see what I'm saying? You have to be willing to sacrifice. So think about your belief system. I want to talk about luck a minute because that's what we discussed too. Like people will say, oh, well, that person was just lucky. They got that job or they got this or they got that. But most often with luck, for very few people, it isn't luck. They have been planting seeds all along the way, working toward that. The door opens and boom, they get it. Luck is very rare. People might get lucky and win the lottery. Well, I won't use that example, but someone, let's say their parents leave them a business. but if they don't know what to do with that business, they're going to bury it in the ground. So believing. Let's get into the meat now, setting goals. So there is a difference between dreams and goals, but I want to just focus on a couple of them. Goals always have deadline. They always have a deadline. So it's not just, dreaming in your head. You might have a dream, but you have to put a deadline to your goal. Also, goals definitely involve sacrifice and effort. And that's why a lot of people don't achieve their goals, because once they get into the work, the hard stuff, they stop, back off. There are a lot of people who have ideas for starting their business because they have a hobby they love and now I'll make money out of it. And they're all excited. I guarantee a year to two later, most of those people have shut it down because now it became work and they didn't realize how hard it was. And then your goals, your capabilities matter, your skill level matters. And perhaps the biggest distinction between dreams and goals is that only one can exist in reality. So when you're setting your goal, you want it to be specific, you want it to be detailed, you really want to map it out. And an example I have is about buying a home. You want to own a home. And we've bought several homes over our lifetime. You want to be specific because the clearer you are on that particular thing, the better chance you have of getting what you want. So like for a house, it's actually like, do you like light colors? Do you like dark colors? Do you want a contemporary style? What kind of neighborhood do you want to be in? What kind of commute do you want to have? What's the cost? But I even look at things like, what about the yard? Do you need children in the neighborhood? Do you want it in the suburbs? How many square feet do you want? I wanted lots of windows in my house. So again, the more detailed you are, the clearer you paint the picture. If you want to go on a cruise, exactly what kind of cruise? Where do you want to go? Do you want a luxury cruise? Do you want an economic cruise? Do you want 7-day, 10-day? What do you want it to feel like? So you really sketch that, like I said, clear. This is not about getting into the task. You have to really be very clear and you sketch all of that out. Now, someone will say to me, well, my goal is to lose 50 pounds. That's pretty straightforward. But I've heard people say in my classes, I want to be healthy. What does healthy look like to you? Define it. Does that mean that you could run for X amount of minutes? Or if you're on the treadmill, you can run it, you go X amount of miles at a speed of 4.5 with an incline of 2. Okay, do you see what I'm saying? Years and years ago, I'll tell you something funny. When I used to travel a lot, and I'd have to go through Chicago O'Hare Airport, and those are long concourses, and my flight would be late. And so for me, being healthy was that I could run from the end of concourse G to the end of concourse H in high heels, pulling my suitcase without killing myself. That's how I knew I was healthy, okay? So then we want to actually write a plan. So you have your deadline. We need the deadline date. Now you're going to list the tasks you have to do to accomplish that. So if it's doing the research, talking to other people who have experienced what you want to do. Now you get down to the nitty-gritty of the tasks. Once you have all your tasks together, you start from your deadline and then you backtrack, okay? Now you'll build out the month to month, what tasks need to be done in which month. And then you break it down even more to weekly and then up really close. So think about maybe when you've gone on a vacation. Think about something at work too, when you've worked on a project, right? So that's where some of that planning comes into place, where you're looking at the end, but I call it backtracking. So if you want to end here, what do you have to do right before that? And what do you do before that? And what do you do before that? And sometimes you realize, oh my gosh, I have to start today for something I want to accomplish 9 months from now. Now, this piece that I'm sharing with you right now, it takes time and it takes work and commitment. But once you lay this down, then you can move forward and execute, and you're just ready to go. So yes, you're going to put in the upfront time. Daily affirmations are really important too, affirming that you already have that. If you want to earn, let's say you want to say, I want to earn $75,000. No, you say, I earn $75,000. When I started going into speaking after being an employee for 20 years, an assistant, it was really hard hard for me because people would start to ask me, what do I do? And I'd say, I'm a professional speaker. And my little voice would say, no, you're not. You don't know what you're doing. You don't have a clue. So you have to tell your little voice to shut up. If you hear the little voice, you keep saying that affirmation. Yes, I am strong, I am bright, I am radiant, I am healthy, whatever it is. Then, of course, we have to track our progress. It's what are you going to use to track it, right? You can use a goal tracking app, yes. Something you want to, and at least once a week you should track, monitor how you're doing, monitor your progress. Don't just set it up and then leave it and you don't care about it. A couple things, setting your milestones and track those. Like I said, use an app could help you certainly. Maybe you just say, okay, every Monday I'm going to just take 10 minutes to see where I am with this and move forward with this. When you complete a task, yes, be sure to mark it off. But if you didn't meet your deadline, just extend it. Don't take it off, well, I never did that, so forget about it, unless you really can forget about it. The other piece I did want to let you know is when you're setting up your to-do and your tasks for that particular thing, that probably is going to grow if you've never done that before, because we don't know what we don't know. So you'll build on that list. I definitely have to capitalize on resources for myself, for my success. I cannot achieve things without others. So I involve others. I share my goals with friends, family, but I make sure they're supportive. If they're not supportive and they have doubts and fears, I'm not going to talk to them about it. I have always had accountability partners, sharing my goals with those people. I seek guidance. In other words, I look for people who have done what I want to do, and I ask for their guidance and help them, have them recommend for me because they've been through it. And then mentors, same thing. That's kind of close to guidance, but mentors are different because they're going to mentor you. They're going to take the time and they're going to hold you accountable. Reward yourself. Okay, you do have to reward yourself, really important. And I always tell people when you're setting up your goals, set up your reward. Now, people will say, well, just achieving the goal is the reward. But it might be, let's say if yours was weight loss, okay, my reward is I'm going to go buy a few new outfits. But we also have to reward ourselves along the way. And this is really also very interesting that if you think about a marathon runner, during the race, they get thirsty. There's water stations along the way. They don't wait till the end of the race. That's what your rewards are, little rewards that keep you going, keep you motivated. And then the last three pieces, staying on the journey, because it is going to be difficult. You are going to hit roadblocks. You are going to hit barriers. It could be people. It could be yourself. It could be financial. It could be something happens with your health. Commitment is what has always gotten me through and other people, successful people through. You're committed to it, so you do it if you like it or not. Some examples for me are saying when to say no, maybe to other things so you could stay focused on your goal. It's doing what you don't want to do, but you do it anyways. So commitment's very important. Our desire, we also look at desire for a moment. I just want to share this with you really quick. How strong is your desire? Because if it's at a 2, which is, that would be nice, 10 is, I want this so badly I can taste it. I'm going to be powering through on that. So think about your desire to achieve this goal. It's this side piece, but it's the most, I would say, important. I have hit so many barriers and roadblocks. In having my business for 35 years, I've almost closed my doors 6 times. That close. I can talk to you about barriers and roadblocks. I've had major health issues, barriers, roadblocks. They're going to happen, but it doesn't mean you have to pick up your marbles and go home. So the key with barriers, recognize these as opportunities for growth. You're going to learn, you're going to be stretched, but look at it as an opportunity to grow or take a different direction, but don't give up. So I hope you found this really helpful. Set those goals, achieve what you want to achieve, but remember, put in the work, and I wish you the best of luck. These strategies are part of our Star Achievement series by Office Dynamics. This program has been taught in Fortune 500 companies and attended by tens of thousands of office professionals. The program is available virtually, or we can bring that program on site for organizations who want to grow together. If you found this information valuable, I encourage you to watch the rest of the videos. They build on each other. This is a strategic training program, and you will learn so many tools that you can apply in today's workplace. They are real, they are proven techniques, and they are actual techniques that people have lived and seen the benefits from. Thank you for watching.